Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm the Mellow Mama and today I'll be sharing about postpartum. If you've been watching lots of pregnancy videos lately, or postpartum videos in particular, I'm sure you've seen the ones entitled What People Don't Tell You About Postpartum, or What to Expect Postpartum. And I want to clarify to start that I'm one person and I've had one baby, which means there's absolutely no way I have any clue what you can expect postpartum. Everybody's got a different set of circumstances that determines what kind of postpartum experience they have, their social circle, their family, what kind of spouse they have, if they have one baby, 2, 3, 5, if they had a natural birth, an epidural, a cesarean, a home birth, if your babies are coming home right away, or if your baby's staying in the NICU for a little while. I could go on and on and on, but the point is that we are all bound to have a different experience after having our baby or babies, and that's totally okay. Also, with the title, What People Don't Tell You, I think it's really interesting that a lot of women are phrasing their videos on the subject that way, because most of the information, including the gross information about blood and bodily fluids, pooping for the first time after having a baby, intercourse after having a baby, is all really readily accessible, not just on this platform with all the beautiful mothers that share openly and honestly their postpartum experience, but also from your physician. Your midwife, your doula, your OB should be very open with you and actually very proactive with sharing the physical and mental outcomes that pregnancy and delivering a baby bring about. There's nothing really mysterious about this subject. You can get all of this information if you just ask or watch one of these videos. Anyway, all that being said, one thing I really do know to be true is that I had a great transition into motherhood. I had a really wonderful time. I felt very, very connected to my son right away. I felt in love with being a mom and so passionate about parenting. And that's what I want for every person. I know that a lot of you guys requested this video because there's so much fear associated with this new chapter of life. That makes sense. If you are somebody that has anxiety about motherhood or delivering your baby, or what it's going to be like right away, if you're going to be okay, if you're going to feel bonded, if you're going to feel connected. All these things, if you have any type of fear, just know that you're not alone. I'm pretty sure that almost every woman ever that's had a baby has felt some sort of slight fear in regard to what the future held for them. So fear not. I have some really, really great tips in regard to making this a transition full of peace of mind, joy, of love, and connection. Let's go ahead and get started with the commonalities of postpartum, things that I know we all experience. First of all, we all need to heal physically. Obviously, we all have a different healing process. We all had different births and labors and pregnancies and pre-pregnancy health. So this is different for everyone, which is why I needed to state that in the beginning. I had an unmedicated natural birth in a hospital. I had no complications. My baby was perfectly healthy, thank God. Everything went really well. I got one little tiny stitch. I didn't have a lot of tearing or anything like that. That's the background of my birth story. And the following is what I experienced physically. Lots of bleeding. For the first couple of times that I went pee after I had my son, I bled a lot, and it's completely normal. I wasn't really freaked out because by that time I had already endured an entire pregnancy and, delivered my son. Something I would recommend doing is going to Target or whatever other store that you can find inexpensive undies and just get a bunch of black underwear that are a size larger than you would normally wear. That way they're nice and comfortable and you don't have to look at blood stains all the time, and then because they're inexpensive you can just pitch them after this whole thing is over. As far as how long the bleeding went, it was about a week for me, a week and a half. Even toward the end I was using like a regular maxi pad, not the giant ones from the hospital, and I had like light spotting, so it really was actually not too bad for me. That was good. I did experience a lot of soreness in my pelvic floor and just in my lower region in general, which I get cringy about it because I was sore for a long time, but I healed perfectly fine and everything's great. I did have some loss of bladder control. Anytime I would sneeze or like laugh super hard, I always felt like I was gonna pee my pants, and luckily that has gone away. I didn't experience any swelling. I've heard and read that a lot of women do. I did experience a lot of uterine contractions while breastfeeding, and anytime my son cried, I had a lot of lower abdominal pain as my internal organs, especially my uterus, were shifting back to their normal positions. In general, I healed really, really quickly, and I felt like pretty much back to normal in a very short period of time. I think that my pre-pregnancy health and the way I took care of myself during my pregnancy was a big contributor to how quickly I got back to normal. Along with the physical healing that comes postpartum, you're also going to be going through a really big mental transition. With a new baby comes a new life entirely, a new body, and new relationships. Of course, one of the largest concerns regarding postpartum is postpartum depression and just this feeling of a loss of self, a loss of purpose, and this is something that I really feel passionate about helping women with, not just postpartum, but in life in general. I feel a very strong devotion to helping women find their fulfillment and find what it is that, calls to them and speaks to who they are. That's for a whole nother discussion, a whole nother day, or lots of days to come. Anyway, it's totally normal. If you're somebody that's fearful of postpartum depression, then I have a lot of really great tips coming. But I want to just say that if you are somebody that dealt with postpartum depression or is dealing with it, there's lots of help for you. There are lots of people that will have your back, and it's completely normal. It's not something to be ashamed of. I will say that I've read a few studies. The study that had the largest amount of women did indicate that epidurals lead to a higher risk of postpartum depression, so I want people to just consider that. I know it's a very delicate subject, and people feel however about their birth story and whatever, but you should never feel ashamed of how you have your baby, because you had a baby. It's incredible. Who cares if you have an epidural? Don't have an epidural. Have whatever you have. I do promote natural birth only because I truly, truly believe in women. I truly believe that our bodies are made to give birth and to have babies. That's big part of our DNA, so that's why I advocate mainly for epidural, not to mention a whole host of other reasons, and maybe I'll make a video about that. All that aside, it's completely normal to have anxiety about who you are, your identity, and what your life will become now that your primary purpose on a daily basis is to care for another person. Not to mention, you're going to be pretty fatigued. There are a lot of sleepless nights when you have a new baby. It's hard to get enough rest, especially when you're breastfeeding or in general just feeding your baby around the clock. A newborn needs to eat every couple of hours, and that means that you need to be up every couple of hours regardless of when you're used to sleeping. So you're going to be on a completely different routine than you've ever been on. Your primary focus is feeding, changing, bonding with your baby, relaxing with your baby, and just in general making sure that they're okay and feeling connected to you, your spouse, and the world around them. Those are the main things that I think we can all expect after having a baby. Now I'm going to talk about what allowed me to have such a great experience. First thing, and this is basically a constant in my life, and it always has been, and it's just attitude. My grandpa is the best guy ever, and he always said, with a good attitude you can do anything in life. I've thought about that since he told me when I was like 12 years old, and it's really stuck with me ever since. I really believe it to be true. During my postpartum experience, of course there were challenges, of course I was really tired, and of course I had fears just like any other person. My attitude, my ability to shift my focus is basically, I think, what saved me and what allowed me to just have such a wonderful time with my baby from day one. I want you to develop an attitude of gratitude. Start putting on those rose-colored glasses and look for all of the beauty that's coming in this time for you. Look for the new glorious aspects of your life for anything positive. I strongly believe in the law of attraction. I really believe that what you focus on will come to you. Just take this as an example. I'm sure if you are pregnant, or if you've ever been pregnant, you start noticing all of the pregnant women. It's like everybody's pregnant. You see them everywhere. It's because that's what you're focusing on all day, all night. So with pregnancy on the brain, you start noticing it everywhere you go. This same concept applies to having a good attitude postpartum. If you're going to focus on all of the challenges, all of the hardships, all of the questions and the different opinions coming at you, they're just going to keep coming. You're going to keep finding them, and it's going to be easier and easier to find all of these negative aspects of postpartum life, of motherhood. What I really strongly advise for you to do is the complete opposite. Look for the beautiful things, the things that make you proud to be a mom, proud of yourself for having a baby, proud of how you took care of yourself during your pregnancy. I was so happy that I took such good care of myself because I was healing well, my baby was doing really well, and in general I felt good, and I was so proud of how I was handling being a new mom. I was so proud of the connection that I felt for my son, and in general I focused on all of the things that I thought I was doing well and I felt good about, and they kept growing because that's where my focus was. I looked for the beautiful aspects of my new relationship and my new body, and of course I mentioned my new life as a mom. Even just for me, it was like watching my baby breathe made me like well up with tears. I'm like a really emotional, sappy person, but anything my son did, I was just like in awe, and I found every aspect of him so beautiful and so precious. And yes, I'm like always gonna cry when I talk about my son, but I really truly focused on anything I found lovely and warm and sweet about being a mom. Because of that, I had such a wonderful time in the beginning, even when it was the most challenging and I felt like super tired and weak, literally fragile from what I just experienced. I still felt so uplifted and so happy to be a mom, and I believe it's all about attitude. So make sure that you continue to have a good attitude through this process, even on the times where you do feel weak and you feel small and you feel alone. And remember, for the times that you're starting to focus on all the bad things, that the more you do that, the more you're going to find. One more thing on that same topic is that your baby truly feels everything about you. Whatever kind of energy you're carrying around, you're sharing with your baby, with your spouse, with whoever you're interacting with. And this is such a precious time for your newborn and you to bond and really truly connect forever. And you don't want to spoil that with a negative vibe. So good energy, good attitude. Speaking of how your newborn interprets things, it's really easy to objectify a newborn baby. They are so tiny. They make the tiniest little coos and tiniest little movement, but you need to make sure to remember that your baby is not an object, but a whole human being. Even in their most fragile state, as a brand new person, they are whole. And when you treat them like that, with full respect and attentiveness, and you observe them and speak to them and interact with them like a whole person, it's going to make a really tremendous difference in your parenting and your relationship and your peace of mind. The reason this will help you stay sane, this respectful approach, is because it allows you to actually just really listen and respond to your baby. And when you're not listening to your baby, it actually makes things a lot more complicated, and in fact, it makes it a lot harder to figure out what needs need to be met for your son or your daughter. Make sure that you're following a respectful approach, and that will give you some peace of mind, that will ease you into parenting, and it'll be a lot less stressful for you. When you start this way and you get on a routine of being respectful and listening and observing, you're only going to develop a strong connection and relationship with your baby that's going to allow you to better communicate as they get older. Along with the bonding that you're going to do just by your general interactions, I highly recommend skin-to-skin contact as much as possible. This is really easy if you're a breastfeeding mom, but in general, make time, and this goes for you and your spouse, so dads too. And Ben spent a lot of time, not just because he's always shirtless, he really did make a conscious effort to be skin to skin with our son. Along with the skin to skin and the way you interact in a tender, respectful way, just read to your baby, sing songs to your baby, cuddle your baby, rock them, stroke your baby's hair, hold your baby's tiny little hands, give them baby massages. Find little ways to really show your love to your baby in a physical way. I mention routine all the time, but it's really, really important, more than ever, I think, in the first couple of weeks at home with your baby, to be on a strict schedule. Try to maintain a normal time that you wake up and actually get dressed. I know that a lot of people actually recommend to lay in bed for a couple of weeks just cuddling away with your baby, but I actually recommend the opposite. Something that really helped me was to act like a normal person after having my son. What I mean by that is get dressed like I'm getting ready for the day, do my hair, do some makeup, whatever it took for me to feel clean and presentable for people and for the outside world. I personally didn't want to cocoon myself in my bedroom with my son. I felt that I was getting a lot of bonding time with him without having to do that. I really personally don't like vegging out, and I don't like lying around. I'm very anti-couch potato, and I've always been like that. I'm just a super active, productive person, so it was actually really hard for me to rest after having my son. And I mentioned that I didn't really spend a lot of time just laying around, and I actually don't think I would change that about my postpartum experience. That really suits you and you really need that time, of course take it, but something that I really think helped me was actually not sticking around in sweats or PJs all day, but getting dressed and getting myself ready as if I was going out to do whatever. Even though I wasn't, I was staying home and, breastfeeding my son 24/7. Along with your just morning routine of getting ready, I think it's important to have a routine for all of your chores. If you don't have help, then I highly recommend to ask for help or hire help. You need to make sure that you have either a really good routine, that way you can stick to it, and like I do 30 minutes or 45 minutes every single night at the same time. That keeps me on track, and I always wake up to a clean house. It's something I really highly recommend. I know a lot of new moms talk about how their house is like gone crazy and everything's everywhere and they just don't care because they're a new mom. I really don't think that's a healthy way of living. I don't think that's a healthy mindset to just let everything go because you're a new mom. I think moms are actually queens, and we're known for being meticulous and on top of things. You want to be part of that mom club. And in regard to food, I mention meal prepping all the time, but I'm not exactly super good at meal prepping, but I do love to cut and prep all of the food that I buy at the grocery store, whether it be meat or veggies or fruits. I wash everything and put it in glass containers in my fridge. That way everything is ready to go and cook immediately, because healthy food actually doesn't really take too long to prepare. Most meals that I make only require about 30 minutes of real cooking if everything's prepped. So have everything in your fridge ready to go. It's a huge lifesaver. 2 more tips. One is to get outside if it's possible for you. I know a lot of people don't live in a climate like Los Angeles. Obviously, I'm from Ohio, so if you live in a snowy place or a place that's a little bit too cold to get outside, I totally understand. But find some sort of way, if it's possible, to even just go on your porch, go on your deck, go in your backyard. Or if you're like me, I went to the park pretty much immediately after I had my son, just to walk and get some fresh air and make sure that I wasn't just in my house all the time. I think that is a main reason that a lot of women experience postpartum depression. They're sort of boxed in and they're just on this routine and they're not taking care of themselves and they're not getting any rest. You need to get outside. It's good for you. It's even good for your newborn baby. it will recharge your soul. Being outside is the best medicine. Lastly, I got this tip all the time and I did not follow it, and it's to sleep when your baby sleeps. I thought I have things to do, I want to continue to get work done, I have a lot of projects that I want to work on. I'm not sleeping. This is my golden time. I was exhausted. I still sort of carry that mindset with me that when my son's asleep, that's when I actually go to work and I can really get focused and get things accomplished. And that method actually works well for me, but I am tired. So if you're somebody that really needs their sleep, or you know, if you're somebody that just wants to take good care of yourself, like I'm doing a poor job of that, sleep at least for like 21 minutes. I know 7-minute increments is best for power napping. So sleep for a short period of time where you feel rested and a little bit charged. Then you can wake up and feel way more energized to not only take care of your baby when they wake up, but to take care of whatever tasks you're trying to take on while your baby's resting. The last thing I want to mention in this video is to embrace your newfound femininity. Of course, women that don't have babies are equally feminine, but I personally felt like more of a woman than I ever had after I had my son, and I think this is one of the most beautiful aspects of course, motherhood, but the postpartum experience in general. Something about becoming a mom helps you recognize the strength that you have as a person, not only physically, but mentally, because you are going to pull through this time on top. You are going to have this immense growth once you have figured out your routine and figured out your relationship with this new person, and that's an ever-changing experience. I'm sure that all of you would agree with me once you're in this new phase when you have it all figured out, that you do feel some sort of new sense of empowerment. Like, you know what? I'm a mom. I'm a boss. I've got this. It helped me realize my capacity for love, and I thought that I was already somebody with like this giant heart that's like beating. But after I had my son, I realized that I'm like gushing with love, and it helped me recognize that in all of the other beautiful women that I see, and especially all of the beautiful mothers that I see in person and, you know, through social media and in my own personal life, all of the moms that I know. It really opened up my eyes. It's given me such a beautiful new worldview of everyone, but especially women, and as a mother, I am so proud, more proud than I've ever been to be a woman, and I think that is the coolest part of the postpartum experience. I wish that for all of you as well, and I wish I could talk to each and every one of you that is about to go on this journey, but this is what we've got for now. I'm really sorry about this little cardigan thingy. Just showing a lot of shoulder throughout this video. Leave me a comment below if something really spoke to you in this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. I love getting to know you, and your support means so much to me. I think that's it. So I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.